Have you ever wondered if an AI actually knows when it's just making things up? As these models get more and more powerful, that's not just some philosophical question anymore. It's honestly one of the biggest challenges in all of AI safety. So, okay, let's get right into it.
I mean, just imagine asking an AI for medical advice and getting this response. It sounds kind of plausible, right? And it's delivered with 100% confidence. But of course, it's completely, dangerously wrong. This whole thing, where an AI just invents facts, is what we call hallucination, and it really shows you the massive stakes here when we start trusting AI with really important decisions.
And yeah, that brings us right to the heart of the problem. See, it's not just about getting the right answer all the time, it's about building systems that know when they don't know the answer. So, how in the world do you get an AI to be honest about the limits of its own knowledge?
Historically, this has been a huge issue. As AI models got bigger and more complex, their confidence problem actually got worse. They became, incredible storytellers, which also meant they became much more convincing liars. This was a critical safety issue. The more powerful the AI got, the harder it became to tell when it was just bluffing. So, to get a handle on this, a team at Anthropic published this really groundbreaking paper back in 2022. It was called Language Models Mostly Know What They Know. And what they wanted to find out was, could you actually look inside the model's brain, so to speak, and find some kind of signal for self-awareness?
Right, so the main goal here was to move beyond just checking for factual accuracy and get to something more like genuine honesty. And that meant figuring out if we could actually teach a model to accurately tell us its own confidence level. Could it learn to know what it knows and what it doesn't?
Okay, so the very first step involves a concept called calibration. Think of it like this. If a student tells you they're 90% sure about an answer on a test, you'd expect them to be right about 90% of the time. Well, an AI is what we call well-calibrated if its confidence score is a really reliable predictor of how accurate it actually is.
So, the researchers started with a pretty simple test. They gave a bunch of different sized AI models a huge set of multiple choice questions, and then they just watched to see how their confidence lined up with their performance. What they found was the first real clue that this kind of self-assessment was actually possible.
And wow, the results showed such a clear trend. As you can see right here, the bigger the model gets, going from 800 million parameters all the way up to 52 billion, the better its calibration becomes. The biggest model is actually very good at knowing how likely it is to be correct. This was huge. It was basically the first proof that some level of self-knowledge could just emerge as these models get bigger.
But, multiple choice questions are one thing. The real world is messy. It requires open-ended answers. So the researchers went a step further and developed two more advanced techniques to see if they could train a model to explicitly evaluate its own knowledge, even for really complex questions.
Let's break these down real quick. The first method they called P-True. This is kind of like asking the AI to grade its own homework after it's already done. But the second method, and this is the really powerful one, is PIK, which stands for probability I know. This is like asking the AI before the test even starts if it even knows the subject. It's a prediction.
And this is where it gets absolutely fascinating. They actually trained a separate, smaller part of the model to do just one job: predict the probability that the main model could answer a question correctly. And here's the kicker. It had to make that prediction just by reading the question itself, without seeing any of the possible answers.
And this visual just shows the result perfectly. For a question about a known fact, like the one up top, you see the color shift to bright yellow. That means high confidence. But for a total nonsense question, like who was the first president of Absurdistan, the model knows it doesn't know. The colors stay this dark purple, which is a clear signal of I have no idea. It can literally sense its own ignorance. Incredible!
But here's the most crucial part. This self-knowledge wasn't brittle at all. Even though they only trained this I know signal on trivia questions, it generalized to completely different things, like math problems and writing code. And get this. If you gave the model a little hint or a relevant article, its I know score would actually go up. It knew that it now knew more. Just amazing.
So look, this was never just an academic exercise. This was a foundational building block for creating AI that we can actually trust. The techniques they pioneered in this paper directly influence the safeguards in the models we all use today. When a chatbot says, "I'm not really sure about that," or refuses to answer something it can't handle, that kind of self-awareness has its roots right here in this research.
So let's just quickly trace that journey. We started out with these unreliable AIs that would just confidently hallucinate.
This research showed us how to build calibrated models where confidence actually means something. And then it took that giant leap to self-aware models that can predict their own knowledge. This was a massive milestone, and it continues to shape how we build safer AI systems. It really puts us on the path toward the ultimate goal, truly honest AI.
And that leaves us with the big question for the future. I mean, techniques like these are absolutely vital today. But as AI systems become vastly more intelligent than we are, the challenge of verifying their honesty is going to become one of the most important problems humanity will ever face.
This is for entertainment purposes only.